Hello and welcome to today's episode, which is all about test driving my newest kitchen appliance, an induction stove. I've just had to replace my hob stove if you're in the US, and I really struggled finding a decent ceramic one, which is what I used previously. I think the cheapest one I saw was £400 from like unknown brand kind of thing. I did see some for 150, but when it comes to big appliances, I'd rather spend a bit more and then hopefully get more, life out of them rather than every year spending another 150 quid, because that's just a false economy at the end of the day. It looks like a lot of manufacturers are shifting to induction cooking and induction hobs, so I thought might as well take the dive now and get an induction. I won't go into the science of it because I don't understand it fully myself, but I'll stick some links down in the description. According to Beko, who are a large appliance manufacturer, an induction hob works similarly to an electric hob, but it has coils beneath its surface that induce electrical current to generate heat in the pan or metal object. I've seen mention somewhere of magnetic, maybe thermomagnetic something or other. So I think what it does is it activates something in the pan itself rather than just applying like a heat. It's either direct heating as opposed to indirect or vice versa. This isn't going to be such a massive shift for me going ceramic to induction as it would be going gas to induction, because it's a similar principle, ceramic to induction. Whereas I think gas, you've got much more fine control perhaps. I'd planned on doing this video last week, but I was too tired. So I have in the meantime tested it out, just making some pasta, just boiling a pot of pasta. It's much faster, like much faster than ceramic. Normally when I do my big pan, I pour a little bit of water in the bottom with some salt, put that on the hob to start heating it up, and then boil the kettle. By the time a full kettle's boiled, which is 6-7 minutes, that's just starting to come to a rolling boil. Whereas when I did the test the other night, within a minute, it had started boiling. So yeah, I think it's just going to be a bit faster, and it's also much more energy efficient. The other thing I really like is that only the part that's under the pan gets hot. So I've got this tiny little saucepan, just for doing a tiny amount of sauce, that kind of thing. So I tested it the other night and then put it on, and only the bit directly under the pan gets hot, so you're not wasting any electricity. Whereas the ceramic one that I used to have, I'd have to just put that on like a quarter of the hob. So you're just wasting a ton of electricity. I don't think there's going to be a radical change from what I'm used to, other than it being much faster. But I thought I'd do a few different things, and then I can, gauge what temperatures and that kind of thing I'm going to do it on. I'm going to do some pan-fried tofu, and then I'm going to do like a sautéed white cabbage, and then I think some broccoli. Different types of cooking. The new series of MasterChefs just started on the BBC, and one of the contestants made a sauce that I'm going to attempt. She didn't say how to make it, but I'm going to have a go. So it's soy sauce, miso, and maple syrup. So I think I'm just going to cook that down, and it will reduce and become really sticky and delicious. I've prepped my tofu already. So this was, I can't remember what size block it was, I'll insert that on screen. The brand of tofu that I buy is already pressed, so it's a choice whether you want it pressed or not. Pressing it just makes it a bit firmer. So I just cut the block into 4, patted it dry on some paper towels. Cut slits into both sides of the tofu, just to see if I can get a bit of extra texture on there. No idea if it's gonna do anything or not, but it's worth a shot. Then I coated the outside in some chicken flavour stock powder, just to get some extra flavour in there. I'm gonna shred down a white cabbage with a julienne peeler. If anyone knows why veg is so small at the moment, let me know in the comments. I asked on Twitter but didn't get any responses. But yeah, my instinct says it's the climate and the weather, because we've had a really hot summer, very dry as well, and then a fairly dry winter but very cold. So I'm thinking that must be, because normally a white cabbage is that kind of size. Same with celeriac as well. I'll shred this down, and then I'm just going to pan fry it, and then I'll put some lime juice on, a bit of sesame oil, that kind of thing. The julienne peeler works in a very similar way to a normal speed peeler, but instead of 2 sharp sides that are flat, this one's got 1 sharp side and then serrated teeth. So that one pulls the strip off, and then these shred that down. So I'm just going to do it straight into a bowl. This might be a bit tricky to start. One thing to bear in mind for induction cooking, your pan needs to be magnetic. So just stick a magnet onto it, and if it sticks, it's okay to use. I'm going to put the sauce together in this pan. With the sauce, I'm just going to put miso, soy and maple syrup in a pan. cook it down and then I guess adjust the flavours if it needs it. Yeah, unfortunately she didn't say how she was going to make it, but the judges said it was incredible. So I'm going to do 100 mils of light soy sauce. I'd recommend light if you can get hold of it, just because it's going to be less intense than dark. I'll do about a tablespoon of brown miso, and then 50 mils of maple syrup. So think of it kind of 1 part maple syrup to 2 parts soy sauce. I might need to adjust this, I have no idea. And then give this a bit of a whisk together if I can. So I'll put that on the stove, I won't switch it on yet. So I'll show you a close-up of the stove, just so you can get an idea of what it looks like, just in case you've only ever used a gas stove. These are the controls for the left side, for that one and that one. And then these two, they're controlled by the ones on the right. These have got boost functions on them, so you can get it hot super fast. When I did the pasta, I didn't even touch it, so I don't think I'll be using that much. And it's also got a timer function built into it. This is IKEA's Matmassig induction stove. I signed up for a Which account. It's like a consumer group. I guess it's a bit like the Good Housekeeping Institute. It's like a third-party organisation that buys things and then tests them out. So it's kind of impartial, you know, so it's not a brand pushing to get good reviews, that kind of thing. And this was the top-rated induction stove. I've got the saucepan bottom right, I'll do the broccoli at the back, then I'll fry the tofu off in the cast iron at the back, and then I've got a saute pan at the front. I might have to jig that around, but I think because the cabbage is going to need to be moved the most. When I cook broccoli, I tend to par cook it in the microwave first, because otherwise I don't know what you call that bit, the floret, like the little bobbly bits, they get really hard in the frying pan before the stem's cooked. So I'm going to put it in the microwave for a minute, kind of mix it around a little bit, and then another minute. And then that usually softens it up enough that it only needs then a few minutes in the pan. I'm going to show you a little tip for peeling root ginger. I've done it before, but just, you know, for anyone who's new to the channel, just use the edge of a spoon. Because if you use a knife, you end up losing quite a bit, whereas a spoon just takes off mostly just the skin. So it's nicely peeled and I've not really lost much. So I've grated down about a 1-inch piece of root ginger and then crushed 3 cloves of garlic, and that's for the broccoli. I think I've got everything that I need prepped and ready to go, because otherwise if you're trying to fry multiple things while prepping things at the same time, become a bit unstuck, if you're me at least. So I'll get the sauce on first, so I'll do it on 5 until it starts bubbling and then probably reduce it. And then I'm going to put all of the others on 5 as well. I'm not a massive fan of cooking multiple things at the same time because it just gets a bit frantic. The broccoli is going to take the shortest, that'll go on last. The cabbage shouldn't take too long for shreds that size. Heating the cast iron pan for the tofu, because that's probably going to need 6 minutes each side, maybe 6 to 8 minutes each side until it goes golden. And I'm just going to do things gradually so I don't get too panicked and burn everything. I've heard with induction stoves it's best to gradually increase the heat under the pan, otherwise you can bow the bottom of it. So I started the cast iron on a 5, and then once it is hot to when I hold my hand over it, and I'll start increasing that to 7. So this is the consistency of the sauce at the moment, so it's very liquid. And then I'll show you again once it's reduced, so you get an idea of how much it's reducing by. I've crushed down some Szechuan peppercorns to go on the cabbage. They've got a mild peppery flavour, but then they've also got like a citrus note to them, and they make your tongue go numb. So you don't want tons of it in there. Pop the tofu in. I'm just going to move the pieces a little bit just to make sure everything is coated in oil. And then once I flip the tofu, that's when I'll put the other veg on, I think. So I'll probably have to flip the tofu over a couple of times just so then it doesn't cook unevenly. Try and show you the sauce. So it's reducing down nicely. So I'll go in with the cabbage. My stove's got a safety feature on it. So if you look at the front 6 there, if I lift the pan off, it then starts flashing F, which means fail. But then if you get it back on within a certain amount of time, it will come back on again. Then I'll get the broccoli on. And then there's the consistency of the sauce. So you can see it's gone very thick. So yeah, I think that's probably good to go. It does stay hot. It's cooler than the ceramic, but it is, you don't want to be putting your hand on there properly. So I'm going to take this off and put it on a cooling rack, and then I can bring the broccoli to the front. I'll add in the garlic and ginger. That's a smaller burner, so I'm going to put it back on the back one. That one is smaller than that one. It might not pick up so well on camera because of perspective, but yeah. Putting a tiny bit of salt onto the broccoli. Not much, because the sauce that I'm putting on is going to be very salty. So I am keeping the flavours somewhat neutral, going for bright rather than savoury, just so that nothing gets too overwhelming with that sauce. I'm going to put a touch of salt into the cabbage as well. Again, not much. Start with a 1/4 teaspoon of the Szechuan. I'll squeeze in the juice of half a lime to start with. And then once I've finished cooking it, I'll then sprinkle over a little bit of toasted sesame oil. It can kind of ruin the flavour if you cook with it. I've now turned the heat off under the cabbage. I'm just going to sprinkle in maybe 1/4 teaspoon to half a teaspoon of toasted sesame. That's the stuff you want. It's kind of dark brown. So there's a very delicious plate of food. I've reduced the sauce too far, so it's gone very thick and sticky, so it's more like a jam almost, but that's fine. As I suspected, it's not much different than cooking on ceramic. It's just getting to know the levels that I need to be on, which number. So the tofu is still nice and pale in the middle, but then the outside is nice and golden brown and crispy. So try it with a bit of that sauce. The sauce is very salty and umami, but then that goes really nicely with the blandness of the tofu. Yeah, that's worked well. I'll do that sauce again. I'm not 100% sure the miso needs to be in that. And I did think that at the time of watching the show, like, why is it in there? Because soy sauce is fermented soybeans and miso paste is fermented soybeans as well. Next time I do it, I'll try it without the miso and see if it's necessary. And I'll update the pinned comment, the purple sprouting broccoli. Pre-cooking it in the microwave gets it kind of tender without going soft. But if you do it raw in the pan, yeah, I found the kind of fluffy bits, they just go quite hard and a bit burnt and bitter. So that's kind of strikes a nice balance doing it halfway in the microwave. You could also steam it and then finish it in the pan as well. And then the cabbage. Reminds me a little bit of sauerkraut because we put the acid in there. So it's got that kind of sauerkrauty vibe to it, but with like an Asian flavour to it with the Szechuan peppercorns. That's really good. And it's a great way of kind of livening up a fairly bland vegetable. All in all, that was fairly straightforward. I think, yeah, it's just going to be one of those things I'll get used to more and more the more I use it, sort of thing. But if you've got any questions, stick them in the comments. If I can't answer it, I'll see if I can find it myself or point you in the direction. I did see a short, and I can't remember the guy's name, Hank something, wears glasses, and he did like a short on induction cooking. So I'll see if I can find the link to that again and put it in the description for you. Someone had either a marble or a granite countertop in the kitchen, and the induction was built into it. So I guess it somehow works through stone, so you can have a completely blank counter. Expensive, but cool looking. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications if you want to be alerted every time there's a new video. I do vegan recipes, ingredient deep dives, and also kind of appliance get to knows. And while you're waiting for the next one, have a look at this.